All right, folks, you know what time it is. You see your screen. It is time for Wednesday's edition of the A Scene, and we are heading to the red carpet of the Georgia film movie called Burden, starring Garrett Hedlund, Crystal Fox, and Forrest Whitaker, and Atlanta's very own Usher. As a Ku Klux Klan museum opens up in a small town in South Carolina, Reverend Kennedy strives to keep the peace, all while urging the group's Grand Dragon to denounce his racist past.
Once you understand where a person has come from, then you have to work toward bringing about a constructive change.
If this ain't a sign, then I don't know what is.
How did you let that man in this house?
You're out of order, Klansman.
How did you develop the strength to be able to sway Mike Burden and tell him that that's not the path that he should be going down?
That was a battle, but I told him it was either me or that. So.
You know, when I read the article that a KKK museum could open up in a small southern town in 1996, that kind of overt bigotry and racism in 1996, are you kidding? So, you know, I felt the obligation when I read those stories.
You were on the ground, they poured gasoline on you. Take me to where you were getting ready for that scene and what was going through your head while you were on that ground, knowing that some of your ancestors went through this exact same thing.
At some point, I felt like my character would fight, but he can't. He's like, no, in order for you to really understand the reality of what Clarence experienced, he didn't fight back. Mr.
Whitaker, there was a point in the film where there was literally a bullet target on your back, but because you didn't retaliate, you survived. You feel like that's the constant burden that is on the backs of so many black men.
I mean, I think that it is, to be able to be strong enough to be able to go through all the oppression, the problems, the anger, you know, and to be able to be your own person, strong and true. I mean, I was in his home and he was talking about when he had to put his family on the ground when the helicopters were going over his house, wondering whether they were going to live or die, but living by this principle that we all have the right to live a life full of equality, you know what I mean, and full of peace and full of love. And then I'll fight for that. He'll fight for that. He's a protest minister. That's what he calls himself. I haven't met many people who say, I'm a protest minister.
Yeah. And that protest minister, you saw him, he was the first one to talk in my story, and that was the real-life Reverend Kennedy and the real-life Judy as well on the carpet. Burden was so good, and directors and producers tell me they chose Georgia to film because it's actually similar to South Carolina. They shot in the town square in Jackson, Georgia, and say they love the people there, all our Southern hospitality. Burden is out in theaters right now.